Hello, I'm Zaria Browner. I am a criminal justice and psychology major at MSU. I got involved in a project where I worked with the local juvenile court to aid in their data processing. While working with the data during my time on the project, I became interested in examining whether there were differences by race between black and white youth in an indicator of mental health at juvenile court intake. Youth's personal interest, a single indicator of mental health, was captured at intake. I started studying this and found that minority youth are at higher risk of having underserved mental health needs. Black and non white youth of color have greater representation in the juvenile justice system. Therefore, the juvenile court system is well positioned to identify potential mental health needs and direct them to the appropriate services. This led me to the research question: is there a significant difference in personal interest at intake between black and white youth? I hypothesized that there will be a significant difference between groups. To answer this question, I used the Youth Level of Service Case Management Inventory, which is a court-administered risk need assessment utilized to identify youth's needs and aid in building effective case management plans. The court collapsed the YLS-CMI into an intake screening tool informing formal and informal case processing decisions. The intake screening tool is administered by court officials, and summary forms are sent to the research team on a secure network. I had access to 3,098 initial intake summary forms collected from a single Midwestern juvenile court. I looked at race of youth, black or white, and whether or not personal interests were present or not present within the data. To answer my research question, I used a two-sample independent t-test to test the difference in means between black and white youth. Moving to the description of the variables, as you can see in the chart on the left, for race, black was coded as 0 and white coded as 1 with a mean score of 0.54. For the variable of personal interests, it measures if youth has hobbies, interests in accomplishing or learning something, becoming involved given the opportunity. Personal interest was coded as 0 and no personal interest was coded as 1 with a mean score of 0.19. Looking at the distribution of variables on the right, we can see 55% of the sample was represented by white youth in light blue and 45% represented by black youth in dark blue. Within this sample, 19% of the youth indicated personal interests not present in light blue, while 81% indicated personal interests are present in dark blue. Taking a look at the bar graph below, we see in the dark blue, 83.3% of white youth present with personal interests, and in the light blue, 17.7% of white youth present with no personal interests. 81% of black youth present with personal interests in dark blue, and 19.4% present with no personal interests in light blue. When I tested the variables, I found that because the p-score was not less than 0.05, it indicates that there is no significant difference on the indicator of personal interest at intake by youth's race. The results indicate services and programming seeking to build upon or strengthen youth's personal interests may equally well suited for black and white youth at intake. The intake screening tool captures a single measure of mental health, personal interest. Measuring and testing additional mental health indicators by race may have different results. There's a need for additional mental health focused question at intake, as youth's personal interest is the only indicator closely related to mental health. Additional indicators of anxiety are not captured. The extent of missing data may have influenced the results. Future work should consider investigating patterns of missing data. Future work can explore additional comparisons by youth race, being that the measure of race is tested dichotomously between black and white. Future work may also consider improving the measure to capture biracial and multiracial youth. Testing other indicators of mental health by youth race should be considered, being the only measure of mental health utilized a single indicator. Court personnel may consider it beneficial to add additional indicators of mental health to the intake screening form. In conclusion, it appears there is not a significant difference between personal interests by youth's race. However, future work can further test other indicators of mental health needs and differences by race, expanding on the present study. Thank you for listening.